The tribal chief is back and he's not here to play games. Roman Reigns made his shocking return to WWE RAW and went face-to-face with Seth Rollins in a backstage confrontation that left the entire locker room stunned. In this video, witness the intense moment as Roman Reigns breaks months of silence and confronts his former Shield brother Seth Rollins. The tension, the history, and the drama all collide in a must-see Raw segment that could change the future of WWE. The corridor was dimly lit, bare concrete walls lined with crates of production equipment, ring gear cases, and the low hum of an arena moments from chaos. A fluorescent light buzzed above, flickering, casting shadows that danced along the WWE logo plastered on metallic doorways. Crew members passed quickly, whispering, heads down. But something was off tonight. Something in the air felt heavy. In the back of the arena, near gorilla position, a security guard shifted uneasily by a restricted access zone. His earpiece crackled. "He's here," came the voice. "I repeat, he's in the building." The guard straightened, jaw tightening. No one needed to say the name. They all knew who he was. Roman Reigns had returned. It had been 103 days since he was last seen. 103 days since he disappeared after that brutal betrayal at Survivor Series. No Instagram post. No statement. No hospital footage. Just silence. And in that void, speculation ran wild. Was he done for good? Was he injured? Was he exiled? Had Paul Heyman truly turned his back on him forever? But now, without warning or fanfare, the tribal chief was walking these halls once more. A backstage camera caught the moment first, a ripple in the crowd of staff. At the far end of the hallway, Roman emerged from the shadows like a specter. Black hoodie. Gloved fists. A beard darker, heavier than before. His eyes hidden beneath the brim of his cap. No theme music. No pyro. Just raw presence. Like gravity folding the world inward. Whispers spread like wildfire. Is that Roman? No way. He's not supposed to be here. He's not even on the Raw roster. But no one stopped him. No one could. Roman moved like a soldier returning to a battlefield, each footstep purposeful, each breath quiet but calculated. Every cameraman backed away instinctively. Producers on headset didn't dare interrupt. This wasn't a segment. This wasn't planned. This was personal. Down another hallway, Seth Rollins was in mid-conversation with Kathy Kelly, fresh from defending his World Heavyweight Championship in a chaotic main event. His hair was still damp, adrenaline clinging to his skin, laughter echoing off the walls. "You see what I did out there?" Seth grinned, adjusting the belt on his shoulder. "They can throw anyone at me, Judgment Day, Bloodline, I don't care. I'm still the best in the game." Kathy chuckled. "There are rumors flying tonight. Some say there might be a surprise return." Seth interrupted her with a scoff. "I've heard that line before." "Who? Randy? Punk again? I'm not worried. Let 'em all come." But even before he finished that sentence, the temperature of the room shifted. The silence came first. Conversation stopped. The whir of equipment ceased. Kathy's eyes drifted past Seth's shoulder. Her smile faltered. Seth followed her gaze. And then, there he was. Roman Reigns. Standing just a few feet away. Still. Unmoving. Like a lion sizing up a rival in its territory. Time slowed. For a moment, it was 2012 again. It was the Shield, fresh in their bulletproof vests, united under a cause. Then it was 2014, Seth with the chair. The betrayal that cracked the brotherhood. Then 2020, Roman's rise to tribal chief. Seth's own evolution into a visionary. Parallel legacies. Woven together and yet worlds apart. Now, they stood in silence. Roman broke it first. "I heard what you said out there," his voice low, rumbling. "You said let them come." So here I am. Seth's expression tightened. His grin vanished. Well, look who finally showed up. Took you long enough, Chief. Roman stepped forward slowly. No smile. No banter. I didn't come back for a match. I didn't come back for the fans. I came back for you. Seth narrowed his eyes. Is that right? Roman nodded. You've been running your mouth. Calling yourself the face of Raw. Parading around with that belt like it means something. This belt, Seth snapped, patting the gold, means everything. Especially since the guy holding the other one decided to vanish. The tension was nuclear. Roman leaned in just slightly, eyes locked. You're real brave when I'm not around. And you're real quiet when things don't go your way. The words hit hard. Roman's jaw flexed. His eyes didn't blink. You think I was gone because I was scared? Seth shrugged. You tell me. You lost everything. The title. Heyman. Your family turned on you. Jacob. Solo. You built a kingdom and watched it crumble. Then you ran. Roman took a step closer. I didn't run. I recalculated. Seth smirked, but it was thin, brittle. Sounds like something a man says when he's trying to make losing sound smart. Roman's breathing slowed. The silence stretched again. Every producer, camera tech, and talent nearby froze in place. Even the arena outside seemed to hush. Then Roman spoke again, quieter this time. You remember what I told you the night the shield broke? After you hit me with that chair? Seth didn't answer. Roman's voice was a low growl now. I said I'd never forget. That one day, I'd come back for the debt. Seth swallowed. I didn't come back to make peace, Roman continued. I came to finish something. Seth, ever defiant, chuckled, but it sounded hollow. You want to finish something, tribal chief? You know where the ring is. Roman's stare didn't waver. The ring's not where this ends. Then, he leaned in, so close only Seth could hear it. This ends when you understand who really runs this place. And with that, Roman stepped back, turned, and disappeared down the hallway. No punches were thrown. No music hit. No crowd saw it live. But everyone backstage knew, something seismic had just shifted. Because Roman Reigns had returned. Not with gold, not with backup. But with purpose. The tribal chief wasn't chasing a title. He was chasing something deeper. Respect. Revenge. Redemption. Or maybe, all three. And for the first time in a long time, Seth Rollins didn't have a ready line. He just stood there, still, shaken, thoughtful. The architect of the Shield had just come face to face with the wreckage of everything he helped destroy. The moment Roman Reigns turned and vanished into the dim corridor, the backstage area buzzed with an energy no match or segment could replicate. Seth Rollins stood frozen for longer than anyone had ever seen him. He wasn't smirking anymore. The same man who had danced past danger, laughed through wars, and taunted legends now looked like he had just seen a ghost. Producers cautiously moved around him, whispering into headsets, unsure whether to resume their normal flow or shut everything down. Corey Graves, catching a glimpse from the edge of the production curtain, mouthed the words, "What the hell just happened?" No one had the answer. Inside the locker room, phones buzzed in rapid succession. Clips of the confrontation began surfacing instantly from unseen hands, shared in whispers, replayed on locker room screens. It wasn't aired live, but someone had captured it, grainy footage, slightly off-center, but unmistakable. Roman Reigns had returned. Backstage agents exchanged worried glances. Several superstars paused mid-conversation. Sami Zayn stopped lacing his boots. Kevin Owens lowered his coffee cup slowly. Even Drew McIntyre, notorious for his iron focus, stood still, watching the grainy video again and again. He's not done, Drew muttered. He's just getting started. But while the locker room reeled from the shock, one man remained silent. Paul Heyman. Tucked away in a private production office with the door locked, Heyman stared at a black monitor playing the footage on loop. His fingers pressed together in a temple over his mouth. His eyes were bloodshot. His usual bravado, the smirking manipulation, the elegant wording, was nowhere to be found. Because if anyone knew what Roman Reigns' return truly meant, it was Heyman. This wasn't a desperate comeback. This wasn't nostalgia. This was strategy. Cold, precise, and deeply personal. Roman hadn't brought the Usos. He hadn't brought Solo Sikoa. He didn't even bring Jacob Fatu, the wildcard who had recently laid waste to both SmackDown and Raw in the name of Bloodline domination. Roman came alone. And that terrified Heyman more than anything. For months, Heyman had maneuvered behind the scenes, aligning with Seth Rollins to preserve his own influence. When the Bloodline collapsed from within, Solo declaring himself the new tribal chief, Jacob breaking ranks, Zilla Fatu refusing to choose a side, Heyman shifted with the winds. He offered guidance to Rollins. Spoke of protecting legacy. Whispered in locker room corners about ushering in a new era. But deep down, he knew this day would come. Roman wasn't just coming back to fight. He was coming to reclaim. Reclaim what was stolen. Reclaim the narrative. Reclaim the silence that had allowed others to thrive in his absence. And Seth Rollins, standing tall as Raw's undisputed workhorse, was the first name on that list. Back inside the hallway where the confrontation had taken place, the echoes of Roman's presence still lingered. Seth had finally moved, retreating into his private locker room, slamming the door shut behind him. The World Heavyweight Championship, which once sat so proudly across his shoulder, now lay tossed on a bench. He sat with his head in his hands. For the first time in months, he didn't know what to say. Not to the cameras. Not to the fans. Not even to himself. Roman's words rang in his ears like a haunting refrain. This ends when you understand who really runs this place. And the worst part? A small, undeniable part of Seth Rollins believed him. Across WWE headquarters, higher-ups were already scrambling. HHH had been briefed mid-conference call. Officials debated whether to announce Roman's return publicly or play coy. Was this a one-time segment? A reappearance? Or a declaration? But what shook them more was how he returned. Unscheduled. Unapproved. No script. No production cue. Roman didn't walk through guerrilla. He didn't consult the writers. He bypassed everyone and walked straight into the moment, on his own terms, in his own voice. A silent coup against the hierarchy. In Stamford, one executive murmured, "We may not be in control of this anymore." Back at the arena, the whispers evolved into fear. If Roman confronted Seth backstage without a match, without cameras, what would he do next? Who else would he speak to? Who else would he target? Would he go after Heyman? Would he confront Solo? Would he appear on SmackDown, or was Raw now his domain? Even the Bloodline, fractured as they were, must have felt the tremor. Jacob Fatu was reportedly in travel mode, pulled from a house show hours before airtime. Solo Sikoa had been silent on social media for days. Zilla Fatu, uncharacteristically, posted nothing since the previous morning. They knew. He was back. And he wasn't taking prisoners. In the hours after the show ended, the footage leaked in full. Someone from production had uploaded a high-resolution version of the confrontation. It exploded online. Twitter, Reddit, TikTok, YouTube. Millions of views in hours. Wrestling fans were split into camps instantly. Hashtag Tribal Chief returns. Hashtag Rollins vs. Reigns. Hashtag Roman ain't done. Memes surfaced, speculation bloomed, and inside the WWE Universe, an undeniable truth emerged. The war had just begun. This wasn't about titles anymore. This was about identity. This was about history. This was about unfinished business between two men who started together in black vests and war paint, only to become generals of rival empires, wounded by betrayal, shaped by resentment, and drawn back together by fate. Seth Rollins, the self-proclaimed face of Raw, the heartbeat of the modern WWE. And Roman Reigns, the fallen tribal chief, once dethroned, now reborn in silence and fury. They weren't just opponents anymore. They were something much more dangerous. Reflections. And as the arena lights dimmed and the last truck pulled out of the parking lot, one thing remained behind. A warning. Unspoken. Clear. Roman Reigns had returned. And Raw would never be the same again. 3 days later, the storm rolled into SmackDown. Not with music. Not with an entrance. But with questions no one could answer. Questions that hung over the show like a cloud ready to explode. Where was Solo Sikoa? Why had Jacob Fatu been pulled from live appearances? And more importantly, why hadn't Paul Heyman issued a single statement? For the first time in years, the Bloodline, the once unbreakable, Godfather-esque dynasty, felt exposed. Cracked. Vulnerable. Roman Reigns' silent return had turned their hierarchy upside down. And as SmackDown aired live from Chicago, the tension backstage was so thick it could have choked the air. Cameras panned across the audience chanting Roman. Roman. Roman, without ever seeing his face. Not a single confirmed sighting had emerged since Monday. WWE's official account had posted only a shadowy silhouette, captioned simply, "He's back." But it wasn't the fans that were the most rattled, it was Solo Sikoa. Sitting alone in a private dressing room, Solo stared at the monitor in front of him, replaying Roman's backstage return again and again. Not saying a word. Not blinking. Just watching. The enforcer. The silent heir to the Bloodline throne. The man who had once knelt before Roman, and then helped bury his reign. Now he looked like a soldier who had miscalculated the war. An aide entered, cautiously. "Mr. Sikoa. Paul Heyman's outside." Solo didn't look up. "Tell him to wait." The aide hesitated. "He says it's urgent." Solo turned, his voice flat. He should have thought about that before he made his choice. Outside the door, Paul Heyman stood with his arms folded tightly, sweat beading at his temple. He had aged in the span of days. His words were calculated, but his heart was racing like a man standing on a minefield. When Solo finally opened the door, the two stood face to face, two architects of the greatest dynasty in modern wrestling, now separated by mistrust and fear. "You knew he was coming back," Solo said without blinking. "I suspected," Heyman replied, voice calm but quiet. "You didn't warn me." Heyman sighed. "He didn't warn me either." Silence. Solo stepped forward. "You think he's coming for me?" Heyman didn't answer. Not right away. Instead, he took a slow breath, eyes searching Solo's for some sign of clarity. "I think," Heyman said carefully, "Roman is coming for everyone." There was no bombast in his voice. No manipulation. Just truth. Solo clenched his jaw. "I'm not scared." "No," Heyman nodded. "You're not. But maybe you should be." In that moment, Solo understood something that shook him more than he expected. Roman wasn't returning to rebuild. He was returning to destroy. Destroy what betrayed him. Destroy what tried to move on without him. Destroy what they had become without his presence. Back inside the arena, commentary danced around the elephant in the room. Michael Cole and Wade Barrett mentioned unconfirmed reports about Roman's Raw return. They replayed snippets of the footage, analyzed body language, and speculated on where this would lead. But they were guessing, just like everyone else. Because no one had seen the full blueprint. Except maybe Roman himself. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins was absent from SmackDown. WWE's official stance was rest and recovery, but insiders knew better. Rollins was processing. Roman hadn't just confronted him. He had invaded his territory. His kingdom. His brand. And now, Seth Rollins was considering something unthinkable. Crossing back into Roman's domain. A showdown that had been years in the making. Not a match. A reckoning. Later that night, the Bloodline's newest chapter stumbled onto the stage. Jacob Fatu walked out, alone. No music. No graphics. Just him. Hair braided tightly, leather jacket over a Samoan dynasty tee. The crowd roared, but they also waited. Waited for an answer. Instead, Jacob simply picked up a mic, walked into the center of the ring, and said 4 words. I didn't know either. The arena went silent. He looked dead into the camera. If Roman wants to talk, I'll be here. And with that, he dropped the mic and walked out, never once blinking. Never once looking back. Because even the wildest wolf in the family felt it. Roman Reigns wasn't just coming back to wrestle. He was coming back to reclaim a legacy that had been fractured. Warped. Twisted in his absence. And now, no one, not even those who had once bowed before him, knew what side they were on anymore. Paul Heyman? Cornered. Solo Sikoa? Shaken. Jacob Fatu? Cautious. Seth Rollins? Quiet. And Roman? He was watching. Somewhere backstage. Or maybe not. Maybe he had already left the arena. Maybe he was 2 steps ahead. Because the tribal chief didn't need to be seen to be felt. He was the gravity in the room. The shadow in the hallway. The presence that made grown men flinch when they turned a corner. He had returned to finish what began over a decade ago, when 3 men in flak jackets changed wrestling forever. Now 2 remained. Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns. One running the ring. The other running the room. And when they collide again, this time with no shield, no alliance, no forgiveness, only one of them will be left standing. Across the WWE Universe, the fallout from Roman Reigns' return had eclipsed everything else. Social media was in a frenzy. Wrestling podcasts scrambled to release emergency episodes. Analysts, insiders, and dirt sheets were unified in one sentiment: this wasn't a storyline, they didn't plan this. Roman hijacked the show. And for once, fans believed it. Because something about it felt too real. The silence. The look in Seth's eyes. The way Roman moved through backstage halls like a man walking through memories. It was as if he'd returned not for gold, but for closure. Still, speculation wasn't enough. The WWE Universe wanted answers. They wanted a confrontation in the ring. They wanted war. At the WWE headquarters in Stamford, Triple H sat alone in his office, watching the confrontation footage for the 7th time that morning. His finger steepled over his mouth. The footage wasn't being aired in full yet. WWE was still curating the story. But Hunter knew the truth. Roman wasn't asking for permission anymore. And the company had 2 choices: build around it, or get run over by it. He picked up the phone, dialing an internal extension. We're setting up a contract signing, he said, before the voice on the other end could even respond. Between who? The talent relations coordinator asked. Triple H's eyes didn't blink. Rollins and Reigns. There was a pause. For the title? No. Then, what's the match? Triple H stared at the paused footage, Roman's face inches from Seth's, eyes unblinking, voice low and surgical. It.